So welcome. This is chapter 2 of statics 2, which is all about statistical estimation. So bukunna tokko farratti why sampling and the sampling distribution wali ilaallee turre har'ammoo why statistical estimation kan jedhu ilaalla jechuudha. So this statistical estimation is very important to estimate, especially the sample mean and the population mean. Yeroo baay'ee population mean fi sample mean estimate gochuudhaaf kan nu fayyadudha jechuudha. So the sampling distribution of the mean shows how far a sample mean could be from a population mean. Kanaaf sampling distribution maal nu agarsiisa jenne irraa meaniin sample tokko population mean irraa hammam fagaata kan jedhu beekuudhaaf kan nu fayyada. Similarly, sampling distribution of the proportion shows how far a sample proportion could be from population proportion. So relatively from population irra laalla jechuudha sample mean is yookaan immoo sample proportion is jechuudha. So in estimation, our aim is to determine how far unknown population mean could be from the mean of simple random sample selected from the given population, or how far the population proportion could be from a sample proportion. So those are the concern of statistical inference, in which assessment about unknown population parameter is derived from the information obtained from random sample selected from that of the population. So here termilee garagara laalla jechuudha. Fakkeenyaaf maanni statistical inference jechuudha. Hypothesis testing jechuudha. Actually hypothesis testing chapter 3 irratti ni ilaalla. Boqonnaa sadaffaarratti kan walitti dhufnu ta'a. Garuu at least you have some concepts about statistical inference and hypothesis testing. So statistical inference is generalizing from a sample to a population with a calculated degree of certainty. Kanaaf gaafa sample mean yookaan sample proportion irraa kaanee waa'ee population proportion yookaan immoo mean of population gaafa estimate goonu yookaan inference gaafa kennu degree of certainty yookaan confidence level waa'ee irratti hundoofne jechuudha. So two forms of statistical inference are there actually: estimation and statistical hypothesis testing. So hypothesis testing boqonnaa sadaffaatti kan laallu ta'a. Har'ammoo statistical estimation ilaalla. So this chapter introduce about estimation, and the next chapter introduce about hypothesis testing. Statistical population represents sets of all possible values for the variable, and in practice we do not study the entire population. Kana boqonnaa tokko farrelli ilaalleerra maaliif sample irratti qo'annaa adeemsisuun akka barbaachisu ilaalleerra. Maaliif population irratti study adeemsisuudhaaf cost guddaa yeroo guddaa waan nu gaafatu jechuudha. So the process of generalizing from the sample to population is known as statistical inference. Inference jechuun sample irra dhaabbanni waa'ee population sana gaafa ibsuu dandeenyu inference jenna jechuudha. So here the term estimation is simply the process of using statistics to estimate the parameters. Parameters indicate about population akka ta'e laallee turre isin dura. Static jechuun indicate about sample, whereas parameters about population. So it is any procedure where sample information is used to estimate or predict the numerical value of the population measure called parameter. Estimator refers to any sample statistics that is used to estimate the population parameter. Example: sample mean or for population mean, and the sample proportion for population proportion. The estimate is specific numerical value for our estimators. For example, the mean may be like this: range of value you shouldn't use. Yeah. So these are estimators, and the item to be estimated and the number that we get from the estimator is known as estimate. So types of estimate. Here we have two types of estimate actually: point estimate and interval estimate. Yani bakka lamatti qoonna. Point estimate jechuun a single number is used to estimate unknown population gaafa ta'e. Point estimate jechuun is a single value actually which is measured from sample and used as an estimate of the corresponding population parameter. That is known as point estimate. Whereas interval estimator means simply the range of value. Gaafa range of value ta'e immoo interval estimator jenna jechuudha. The most important point estimates which give a single value are like sample mean, sample proportion, sample variance, and sample standard deviation for corresponding population mean, population proportion, population variance, and population standard deviation. Such value is known as point estimator. So interval, as I mentioned before, it is a range of value. Jiddu galeessa yookaan immoo range yoo ta'e value suni interval jenna jechuudha. Akkuma maqaan isaa nutti himuuti. It describes a range of value in which parameter might lay. Stated differently, in interval estimates, if the range value is analyzed and can declare with some confidence of that population parameter with fine. So tokko laalu eegalla point estimator of the mean and proportion jennee kophaa laaluu dandeenya. So a point estimate of parameter which is theta is a single number that can be regarded as a sensible value for point estimate. So point estimate is obtained by selecting a suitable static and computing its value for a sample data. So that is known as a point estimator. So this point estimator of population parameter, while useful to not convey as much as that of interval estimators, and the point estimator produces a single value as an estimate of unknown population parameter, whereas the interval estimation is all about range of value, so which conveys what estimation is uncertain process. So gabaabumatti point estimator gaafa jennu exactly single value irratti hundaa'uudhaan estimate goona. Gaafa immoo the range of value yookaan immoo interval estimator ta'e immoo range of value irratti hundaa'uudhaan estimate goona jechuudha. Especially population isaan jechuudha. Population data by using a sample data. So here one example are given actually here. One example, suppose Sussex professor wanted to estimate the mean summary income of his second year business student, selecting 25 students at random and calculate the sample mean of weekly income to be $400, and the point estimate is sample mean. In other words, the estimates of the mean weekly summary income of all second year students, which is this number, is known as a point estimate value of actual or average weekly income of the students. Here also another illustration. Suppose for example a parameter of an interest is mean of population, and the true average lifetime of this battery can be selected, and a random sample of 3 battery might be observed, and the lifetime can be x1, x2, and x3 can be given with this number. So here the computed value of the sample mean lifetime is a mean of sample, which is given by 5:77. It is reasonable to regard that 5.77 is very favorable value of what the mean of the population. Our best guess for the population based on the sample information. Kanaf sample mean sana fudhanne population mean immoo bifa kanaan gaafa goonu inni kuni almost average waan fudhanneef range of value kanaf most it is interval estimation jechuudha. Here also another example. Suppose we have a sample 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50. Select randomly from the population mean of unknown population mean. So to estimate the unknown population mean, first we have to determine the mean of this sample. Simply as summation of all variable divided for number of observation. That means 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we get what around 30. So it is a point estimate of your population. Kanaf population mean keenya yeroo hunda maal ta'a jechuudha karaa biraatiin x bar, which means the sample mean plus or minus 10 ta'a jechuudha. Kanaaf jiddu galeessa yookaan range of value dha. Range of value ta'e taanaan immoo akkuma reefu dubbanne it is interval estimation ta'a jechuudha. Interval estimation. Kanaaf point estimate fayyadamnee interval estimation hojjechuu akka dandeenyu nutti hima jechuudha. The interval estimation of mean and proportion, when you see one by one here, the interval estimation of population mean. As a central limit theorem discussed in chapter 1, the following z value for a sample mean can be used when the sample size is very large. Regardless of the shape of the distribution, for smaller size, we normally distribution, if it is normally distributed, So Z can be calculated like x bar minus mu over this variable where ranging to give x bar minus z times sigma over n. Because of the sample mean can be greater than or less than the population mean, that can be a positive or a negative value. Thus, the preceding can be expressed like plus or minus value. So, the value of the population mean lays somewhere within this range. Rewriting this expression yields the confidence interval for that population, which is in the terms of what? Interval estimation. Interval estimation. Here, the confidence interval for population mean can be affected by three factors. One is the population distribution, whether the population is normally distributed or not. The second one is standard deviation. The third one is n or sample size. Whether sample size is large or small can be affected. Kanaf confidence interval factorota sadii kanatu affect gochuu danda'a. Population distribution, nature of population distribution jechuu dandeessu, standard deviation, sample sizing baay'ee affect gochuu ni danda'a jechuudha. Confidence interval estimation of a population mean or normally distributed and standard deviation is already known. So the confidence interval estimate for mu in an interval estimate together with the statement of how confident we are that interval estimate is correct. So the formula can be rearranged like population mean equivalent to or sample mean plus or minus z times alpha, which is confidence level, to standard deviation over A. Yeah, population standard deviation actually, and alpha is simply the confidence, the proportion, which is correct statement, or actually 1 minus confidence interval, and the population mean is unknown here. So from the above formula, one can learn that the interval estimate is constructed by adding and subtracting anywhere terms or margin of error from point of estimate. That is, point of estimate is at the center of the confidence interval, and to find the interval estimate of population mean, mu have the following steps. So one is you have to calculate the standard error of the mean, compute alpha 1 over 2 from confidence coefficient, and then z value from the tables using alpha 1 over 2 from table, construct confidence interval, and finally we can interpret our results. Kanaaf steepota kanneen follow goone jechuudha interval estimation of population mean for unknown population argachuudhaaf. Fakkeenyaan yookaan immoo worked example garaagaraa gaafa ilaallu ifaa ta'a. Fakkeenyaaf here the vice president of an operation of Ethio Telecom is in the process of developing the strategic management plan, and he believes that the ability to estimate the length of the average phone call on some system is important. He takes randomly 60 cells from the company record and find that the mean sample length for call is what? 4.26 minutes. Past history of this for these types of call has shown the population standard deviation for the call is 1.1, and assuming the proportion is randomly normally distributed, and they want to 95 confidence level, and help him to estimate the population mean. Kanaaf kennamaa keenya gaafa baafnu inni keenya 60 asitti nu kennameera. Sample mean keenya immoo nu kennameera. Population standard deviation inis asitti nu kennameera. Confidence level keenya nu kenname taanaan alpha value 1 minus confidence level 1 ta'eef innis beekamaadha. Almost 0.05 ta'a jechuudha. So formulaan step tokkoffaa standard error of the mean determine gochuudha. Innis standard error of the population over n dha. Isas bifa kanaan calculate gochuu dandeenya. Confidence level akkuma reefu dubbanne 1 minus c, which is like this, but alpha over 2 is become this one, and the z value isa kana table irraa arganna jechuudha. Alpha value keenya duwwaa tuqaa duwwaa lama shan gaafa ta'u, z value keenya z square keenya meeqa ta'a? 1.9. Kanaaf step afuraffaa irratti almost substitute gochuudhaan result kana argachuu dhumarratti maal goone interpret goone jechuudha. Interpret goone. So the vice president of Ethio Telecom can be 95 confident that the average length of the call of the population is between 3.98 to 4.54. Kanaaf bifa kana population mean keenya estimate gochuu dandeenya by using point estimator jechuudha. By using point estimator bifa kanaan calculate gochuu akka dandeenyu nutti hima jechuudha. So example number 2, So have a look example number 2. A survey conducted by Addis Zaman Gazeta found that the sample mean age of a men was 44 years and the sample mean age of women is 47 years, and altogether 454 people from Addis were included in the leader pool, and 340 women and 114 men. Assume that the population standard deviation of age for both men and the women is given here. Standard deviation in Kennamera and N in Kenya in Kennamera for population, N for samples in Kennamera, and sample mean jechuun X bar for women and the men is in Kennamera jechuudha. Kanarraa population mean Kenya akka determine goonu gaafatamne jechuudha. Kanaaf gaafilee sadiitu kenname. N develop 95 confidence interval estimate for the mean age of the population, men who read Gazeta, and develop 95 confidence interval of mean average of the population for that of the women, and compare the widths of the two interval estimates from part A and the part B. Then which one is better precision and why? Kanaaf kana deebisuudhaaf jalqaba confidence interval determine gochuu danda'u qabna. Confidence level estimates of the mean gochuudhaaf kennama keenya baafna. N for mean and the mean for mean and average standard deviation, then confidence level also or here is given at 95 confidence level, so already given, so we can simply calculate the standard error of the mean like this. Then confidence level is already known. Again, we know this value from the table, and simply we substitute the given value. Kallattimaan formula kenname keessaa gati keenya substitute gochuudhaan result keenya argachuu dandeenya. Kanaaf irratti kan gaafatamne meanidha. Mean age of population for the mean. Kanaaf kan population mean of mean range kana jidduu jira jechuudha. Sana booda kan mean barbaanna stepuma kana fayyadamuudhaan gatii asitti argame kana check goona jechuudha dhumarratti. So now here is the number. So gaafa isaan lamaan compare gaafa goonu lakkoofsi kunii fi fakkeenyaaf 46.15 fi 47.85 fi asitti immoo gaafa dhuftan 42.53 fi 45.47. Kanaaf reenjiin as gidduu jiru baay'ee bal'aadha. Ishee kana biratti gaafa dhuftan immoo reenjiin gidduu jiru xiqqaadha. Sababa kanaaf jedhamu asirratti maal jedha? Better precision becomes the sample size larger as compared with in A. Kanaaf precision bareedaa argachuudhaaf sample size dabaluu qaba jechuudha. Sample size dabaluu qaba. Yoo argitanii jiraattan sample size male fi female wal hin dhufu. Sample size male baay'ee xiqqaadha. Kan warra dubartootaa immoo baay'ee guddaadha. Kunoo 300 fi 40. Warra dhiiraa immoo 114 warra dhiiraa. Kanaaf gaafa sample size keenya xiqqaatu reenjiin keenya bal'achaa deema. Gaafa sample size keenya dabalu immoo precision keenya dabalaa deema jechuudha. Isa sana isinitti himaa jira inni kun. So gaafin inni sadaffaan, the time magazine report information on time required for caffeine from products such as coffee and soft drink to leave the body after consumption. Assume 99 confidence interval estimate of the population mean time for adult is what? Already given to this, so range of values given now. So what is the point estimates of the mean time for caffeine to leave the body after consumption, and if the population standard deviation given is 2 hours, how large is the sample was used to provide an interval. So inni gaafatamne jechuudha. How large gaafa jedhu inni asitti sin kennamne jechuudha. Inni barbaadde jechuudha. Inni barbaadde. Kanaaf kennamaan keenya maa inni confidence level keenya kennameera, interval immoo isaa nu kennameera already. Kanaaf jidduu kana jira ishee kana argachuudhaaf point estimate kan kee argachuu qabda. Point estimate is simply the average. Lakkoofsa kana lama walitti hidhaatee lamaaf gaafa hirtu point estimate argatti. Yookaan immoo karaa biraatiin salphaataanis equation fayyadamuudhaanis argachuu dandeenya. Maaliif lakkoofsi kun jechuun maayinasiidhaan kan dhufe, lakkoofsa kana jechuun immoo pilaasiidhaan kan dhufe waan ta'eef isaa fayyadamuudhaan lakkoofsa kana akkuma argitan kan fiduu ni dandeenya jechuudha. So once the point estimate can be obtained, point estimate erga arganne booda amma sample size keenya argachuu dandeenya jechuudha. So this one is given, again this one is given, and required one is n gaafatamte. So by using this formula, either of this or this, we can determine n value. Sana lamaan kana keessa tokkoon fayyadamuudhaan n keenya argachuu dandeenya. So at the end of the day, your value is almost 165. So we state with 99 confidence that the mean time required for caffeine to leave the body after consumption lies between this range. So the next one is confidence interval estimate of population proportion. Now population proportion here for unknown population mean and where n is very large number. Population proportion barbaadna standard deviation keenya beekamu n keenya yookaan sample size keenya immoo garmalee guddaadha. Garmalee guddaa gaafa akkasii mean akkamitti determine goona population mean for normally distributed population. So maal jedha, if we know that the population is normal and we know the population standard deviation is, the confidence interval for mean should be constructed in a manner already shown above. So if the population standard deviation is unknown, it has to be estimated from sample mean. So standard deviation is sample standard deviation kan irraa arganna jechuudha. Sample standard deviation simply summation of xi divided for the mean the whole square over n minus 1. Then the standard error of the mean, which is this one, can be obtained by using this formula. Now, share kana immoo bifa kana argachuu ni dandeenya jechuudha. Sana booda formula keenya gara kanatti geeddarama. Therefore, the confidence interval to estimate mean from population of standard deviation is unknown and the population is normal distributed and the n is very large. So it can be given like this. Let's see this example. Suppose that the car rental firm in this wanted to estimate the average number of the mile traveled each of its cars rented. Random sample of 110 cars rented. Reveal that the sample mean travel distance per day is this one. Amma sample mean itu kenname asirratti daraa keessa waan kenname beekuun baay'ee murteessaadha. Asitti sample size nu kennameedha n keenya jechuudha. With the sample standard deviation is nu kennameedha. So compute 95 confidence interval to estimate what? Mean. So C value is nu kennameedha jechuudha. Alpha keenya sirra barbaadu mean. Therefore kennamaa keenya n nu kennameedha, x bar nu kennameedha, small s nu kennameedha, then C keenya ni beekna. So now we can calculate this one by easily dividing this number to this. Now we obtain this one. Alpha is already known, 1 minus C, which is 11. So we can determine Z of this number divided for 2. That means 0.01 over 2, which is this value. So Z value of this number is already obtained from table. Table error argattu kana erga isa argattan booda salphumatti mean of population calculate gochuu dandeenya jechuudha. So we state that with 99 confidence interval, the average distance traveled by rented car lies with 80.77 and the 90.23 miles. Now, reefu dubbanne irra gaafa sample size keenya xiqqachaa jiru range isaa baay'ee bal'achaa akka deemu ilaalleef kunis fakkeenya sana akeekachuudha karaa biraatiin. So example biraas isiniif dabalameera. Study is being conducted in a company that has 800 engineer. Random sample of 15 of this engineer revealed that the average sample age is 34.3 years. The sample standard deviation is almost 8. Assume normality. The construct 98 confidence interval to estimate the average of all engineer in this company. So given n is 50, but total population is this one and the sample age or mean is this one. From this number, S is already known 8 and the confidence level is 98%. From this you can calculate S. Since n is very large, you can determine by using this formula, which is n capital minus small n over n capital minus 1. Here the value is already substituted and we can obtain this number. Kanaaf erga isa kana arganne booda Z value keenya argachuudhaaf alpha value keenya bifa kana determine goona. Now irratti mean keenya immoo exactly formula kanatti substitute goone arganna jechuudha. So at the end of the day, your result can be stated like 98 confidence interval. The mean age of the engineers lays between 31.74 and 36.86 years. So bifa kanaan estimate gochuu ni dandeenya jechuudha. Kanaaf population meaning hin beekamu taanaan standard of the population sunis hin beekamu taanaan saampilii keenya irratti hundaa'uudhaan population meaning calculate gochuu akka dandeenyu nu agarsiisa jechuudha. Amma immoo gara proportion itti deemna. Proportion here interval estimation of population proportion. We know that sample proportion P bar is unbiased estimator of the population proportion, and if the sample size is large, then the sample proportion is normally distributed in the given P bar minus P over this value. But this means that in other words, simply PQ over N, where P is unknown and they want to estimate P by P bar, and hence Z becomes Z capital, which is given by this formula. And that is this estimator can be substituted by this. So at the end of the day, solving for P results P bar plus Z square root of PQ bar over N. Since Z can be assumed both positive and negative, same shape we can see right like this. So formula gubbaa sana gara P itti geeddaruudha, gara proportion itti geeddaruudha malee waan nan biraan qabu jechuudha. Garuu yeroo hundaa P nu kenname taanaan Q determine gochuudhaaf 1 minus P bar gochuu akka dandeessan akka hin daganne alpha bifuma saliin determine ta'a. Now this one is unknown population proportion. Here is example. Recently study 87 random sample of selected with a telemarketing operation was completed. The study revealed that 39% of the sample companies had used telemarketing to assist them in order processing. Using this information, estimate the population proportion of telemarketing company who is their telemarketing operation to assist them in order of 95 confidence interval. Kanaaf asitti maaltu nu kenname? Inni nu kennameera. P already nu kennameera. 39% means 0.39. Kanaaf Q'n keenya immoo 1 minus 0.39 ta'a. Yes. So already N is kennameera, kunis kennameera. Ishee kana argachuudhaaf tokko hir'isuu lakkoofsa kana jechuudha. Tokko irraa lakkoofsa kana gaafa hir'ifnu isa kana arganna waan ta'eef. Ishiin nu kennamteerti alfaa kanarra determine gochuun like this ni arganna alfaa 1 over 2 0.05 reef immoo gatiin isaa kan akka ta'e ilaalleerra. Kanas erga goonee booda kallattiimaan foormulaa keenyatti determine gochuudhaaf bifa kanaan argachuu dandeenya jechuudha. Standard error of proportion bifa kanaan arganna. Erga isa arganne booda P keenya determine gochuudhaaf value kana maal gochuudhaaf substitute gochuu qofa jechuudha. So at the end of the day interpret gochuu qabna result keenya maal jedha asirratti gaafa interpret gootan we state with 95% confidence level jechuudha asirratti 95% confidence that the proportion of the companies which use telemarketing to assist order processing lays between this and 0.425. lakkoofsi kun hin barreeffamne asirratti 0.4925 jechuu dandeessu jechuudha. So example biraas asitti isin kennameera. Almost example baay'een isaanii wal fakkaata waan ta'aniif kana bira utaalla jechuudha. Almost baay'een isaanii they are similar actually. Ishee kana clear akkasini ta'u alaallu. So a random sample of 400 faculty member of Addis Ababa University contained 120 people who believed that the university should improve its library. On the basis of this sample formation, the analyst calculated the confidence interval, which is 0.25 and 0.35 for the population proportion of the faculty members, favoring improvement there. What's the level of confidence interval for this population? Kanaaf kan kenname maalli? Inni nu kennameera 400. Here asitti immoo what's that population mean nu kenname, sample mean nu kennameera. This one is actually bar, X bar nu kennameera. So population proportion asitti lakkoofsa kan walitti hidhuudhaan lamaaf irraa reefu jennee irraa point estimator gaafa barbaadnu maal goona lakkoofsa kan lamaa walitti hidhuudhaan gaafa lamaaf hirtan ishee kana ni argattu jechuudha. Ishee kana argattan jechuun immoo gabaabumatti kiwwii keessan argachuu ni dandeessu. So by using the formula P is equal to this plus or minus this one. So here having P kana jechuun kiwwii keenya tokko hir'isu kana duwwaa tuqaa torba ta'a. So P times Q over N square root keessatti jechuudha. Kun immoo Z value of 0.05 which is already given. So by this principle we can determine the confidence level C value. Right. 97% confidence level keenya ibsuu dandeenya jechuudha bifa kanaani. So example hedduu ilaaluu dandeessu waan ta'eef baay'ee isaanii wal fakkaatu sila ta'eef biroo ta'ani. The other one is an interval estimation of a difference between two independent mean. Hanga ammaa kan ilaalle waan mean qofa amma immoo mean independent ta'e lama yoo nu kenname point estimation yookaan interval estimation dhaan fayyadamne akkamitti population mean yookaan population proportion barbaaduu dandeenya kan jedhu ilaalla jechuudha. Let mu1 denotes the mean of the population 1 and mu2 denotes the population of 2. We will focus to inference about the difference between the population, which is mu1 minus mu2. To make an inference about this difference, we select a simple random sample n1 units from the sample, take separately in the independent. Refer to as independent sample, random sample, random simple sampling. So in this, we assume the information is available such that two population standard deviation is already given like this. So how we can calculate the unknown population mean? Come here. Here the standard deviation for the two mean is given like this. Now standard error of the meaning bifa kanaan kennama jechuudha. x1 mean 1 minus x2 over radical of standard deviation 1 over n1 plus standard deviation of population 2 over n2 bifa kanaan kennama jechuudha. So therefore the interval estimate of the difference between the two population mean mu1 and the standard deviation 2 is already known. Isaan kunniin kan beekamu taanaan formula kana fayyadamna jechuudha. Formula kana fayyadamna jechuudha. So example dhaan ilaallu. Let us return to the greenstone example based on the data from the previous customer demographic study. The two population standard deviation is already given. Yes. 9 and 10. The data collected from the two independent simple random samples of the greengrocer customer provided here. So sample size already given, n1 is given, n2 is also given, mu1 is given, and then mu2 is also given. So using the above expression, we find that the point estimation of the difference between the two mean to the population like this, x bar 1 minus x bar 2, that is 5 years. Thus we can estimate the customer that inner store, city store, have mean the age 5 years greater than the mean age of the suburban store. Therefore, using 95 confidence level, Z alpha over 2 is already known. So here we have substitute the value and we can determine the margin of error, which is almost 0.4.05 at 95 confidence interval. And the estimation of the difference between the two populations is already given like this. It is 0.94 or it is which means 9.06 years. Here also another example. Here is the research team is interested in the difference between the serum uric acid levels in the patient with and without Down syndrome in a large hospital for the treatment of the mentally retarded. Sample of 12 individuals with Down syndrome yielded the mean of 4.5 and this milligram per 100 ml. So in general, the hospital have 15 normal individuals of sample age and sex were found to have the mean of this one if it is reasonable to assume that the two population values are normally distributed with the variance equal to 1 and 1.5, respectively, find the 95% confidence interval for population difference, the difference between the two means. So here, N1 is already given, X bar 1 is given, standard deviation 1 is given, and N2 is also given. Here is 2. Here can already all things given, so the point estimate can be determined by the difference between the two mean. Standard error of the mean formula can substitute lakkoofsa kan argattu sana booda 95 confidence level irratti range sun meeqa ta'a jennaan isa kana ta'a jechuudha. Discussion as this is z interval, we know that the correct value of z is to use this one. So we interpret this interval that the difference between the two population mean is 1.1 and we are 95 confident that the true mean lies between this and this number. Kanaaf hiikkaa gaafa kenninu bifa kanaan interpret gochuu danda'u qabna jechuudha. The other thing is all about student t-distribution. If the sample size is small, which means less than 30, we can develop an interval estimation of the population mean only if the population has normal probability distribution. Kanaaf population size in Kenya soddoma gadii fi distribution is ammoo normally distributed yoo ta'e student distribution fayyadamna jechuudha. If sample standard deviation S is used to estimate the population standard deviation, and if the population has a normal distribution, the interval estimation of the population can be estimated upon the probability distribution known as T distribution. Amaloonni T distribution maayini ishee kan sirriitti qabachuu qabdu. T distribution amaloonni inni agarsiisu maayini kan jedhu kana beekuu sirra jira. Sometimes bifa filannootiin exit exam keessan irratti fiduu danda'u waan akkana kan jechuudha. So usually the following is necessary true about T distribution fa'idha fiduu danda'a. So T distribution is symmetric about the mean and the ranges from negative infinity to positive infinity or whole number. And the T distribution is a bell shape, unimodal, and has approximately the same appearance as standard normal distribution or Z distribution. And the T distribution depends on the parameter V, which is a Greek letter nu, called the degree of freedom, which is n-1. And the degree of freedom V refers to the number of values that can be chosen. The variance of T distribution is V over 2 for V is greater than 2. And the variance of T distribution is always exceed 1. And as V increases or variance, the variance of the T distribution approach 1 and the shape of the approach is normal distribution. And because of the variance of T distribution exceeds 1, while the average variance of Z distribution equal to 1, T distribution is slightly flatter in the middle than Z distribution and has a thicker tail when compared to Z distribution. Z distribution which compare and the T distribution is a family of distribution with different density function corresponding to each different value of parameter B. That is, there is a separate distribution for each sample size. And the key formula for a sample when standard deviation of the population is known, sample size is small, and the population is normally distributed, it can be given like this formula: x bar minus mu over sx, or it can be expressed like this because this means that this one. This is a formula, and normally the same with that formula, but the distribution of the table value is not similar. Formula almost will fakkaata the distribution wajjini garuu garaagarummaan isaanii value of table value isaanii garuu garaagarummaa qaba jechuudha. So you can use this formula to estimate population mean x bar plus or minus t alpha 1 over 2 at v degree of freedom jechuudha s over n. So v is simply degree of freedom which is n minus 1. Kanaaf table irratti gaafa barbaaddan alpha over 2 at v jettanii barbaaddu jechuudha. Steps to calculate: here you can calculate degree of freedom first, n minus 1. And then look at t table at v, and then construct the confidence interval and finally interpret the results. Example, if a random sample of 27 items produce the mean of this one and the deviation of this, what is 98 confidence interval for population mean? Assume that X is normally distributed for the population. What is the point estimate if two questions are there? So the point estimate of the population mean is the sample mean. In this case, it is already known. So the point estimate is this one. So now you know the formula. This can be determined by S over this one. So this number divided by 27. Degree of freedom. It is number of sample size. And our degree of freedom is 26 because 27 minus 1. So alpha over 2 is 0.01. So T at 0.01 with 26 degree of freedom is given like this one. Now, alpha over 2 jettanii table irra barbaadu qofa osoo hin taane degree of freedom isa irratti hundaa'uudhaan barbaadu jechuudha. Sana booda formula keessatti galchuudha resultiin argamu jiddu galeessaan kana ta'a. We estimate 98 confidence that the population lays between this and this. Kanaaf kana jidduu oola jechuudha population meaning keenya. Example 2, the sample of 20 cup affairs in Bahar Dar city shows a sample mean of 2.5 and there's a sample standard deviation of 0.5. Develop 90% confidence interval estimate of the mean cup fare in the Bahar Dar city. Assume the population cup fare has a normal distribution. So n is already given. Here point estimator is already given. Standard deviation kennameera, sin kennameera, degree of freedom kennameera kudha sagal ta'a. Kanaaf formula keenya keessa substitute gaafa goonu standard error of sample mean kan arganna. Alpha value keenya kanaaf table irra deebi'ee T alpha over 2 at V meeqa arganna? Tokko tokko torba lama sagal ta'a. Sana booda formula keessa galchuudhaan resultiin keenya maal ta'a? Kana ta'a jechuudha. Kana jechuun we state that 90 confidence interval that the mean of the cup fare in Bahar Dar city lays in these two numbers. For example, in bira jira ammas example kanas bira utaalla. Maaliif almost example keenya baay'een isaanii wal fakkaatoodha. Nuti barattoonni keenya akka irra deebi'anii yaalaniif kan akka galuuf waan barbaannu jechuudha. Yoo isin nu barbaachisa ta'e comment section jalatti na gaafachuu ni dandeessu. Emailiidhaan isin erguu nan danda'a. PDF kana jechuudha. Inni itti aanu determination of sample size. Yeroo tokko tokko sample size nu kennamuu dhabuu danda'a. Sample size keenya determine gochuus ni dandeenya jechuudha. The reason for taking sample from population is that it would be too costly to gather data from the whole population. But collecting sample data also costs money, and the larger the sample, the higher the cost. To hold the cost down, we want to use as small as sample. Kanaaf gaafa population irratti research hojjannee cost isaa guddaadha. Kanaaf sample filanna illee. Samples gaafa filannu sample keenya gar malee baay'ata taanaan ammas cost. Amma danda'ame sample keenya maal goona jedha? Small yookaan xiqqeessinaadha. On the other hand, we want the sample to be large enough to provide a good approximation or estimation of the population. Consequently, the question is how large should our sample? Kanaaf sample keenya gaafa xiqqeessinu ammas rakkoodha. Maaliif information waa'ee population isaan argannu? Maaliif sample sana irratti hundaa'uudhaan waa'ee population sana inference kennuu henna waan ta'eef kanaaf sample keenya gar malee gaafa xiqqeessinus rakkoodha. Amma danda'ame sample keenya osoo guddatee bareedaadha. Kanaaf guddachuun isaa rakkoon isaa kusti ta'udha. Xiqqaachuun isaa immoo waa'ee population sana infer gochuudhaaf nu rakkeessa. Kanaaf akkamaa ta'udha. Here the answer depends on three factors jedha. Tokkoffaa how precise or narrow do we want confidence interval to be? And how confident do we want to be that interval estimate is correct? How variable is the population being sampled? So isaan sadii kana irratti hundaa'aa jechuudha. Tokkoffaa precision dha. Lammaffaa how we are confident. Sadaffaan immoo how the population can be sampled. Here sample size for estimation of the population mu. So confidence interval can be given like this. Formula kana kenname jenneerraa isheen kuni margin of error yookaan error of estimation E jedhamuudhaan beekamti. That is the difference between sample mean and the population mean, which is result as sampling process. So this one is simply margin of error. Squaring both side results e square is equal to this one. From this n of population is given by this variable. Kanaaf inni keenya bifa kanaan determine gochuu dandeenya formula irraa. Formula kanarraa inni keenya determine gochuu qabna ni dandeenya jechuudha. Innis bifa kanaan kennama z alpha 1 over 2 sigma over e the whole square. For example, a gasoline service station shows standard deviation. Nu kennameera. Standard deviation is for the change made by the credit card customers. Assume that the station management would like to estimate the population mean gasoline bill for its credits card customer within this range. So this number indicate E margin of error nu agarsiifti. Yeroo baay'ee gaafa within jedhee isin kenname barreeffamaanii plus or minus kun jiraachuu baates error or margin of error akka ta'e beekuu qabdu. Confidence level is nu kennameera dhumarratti n gaafatame. Here at the solution, margin of error, standard deviation of the population. Now there is confidence level. Now alpha value is easy, so alpha 1 over 2 is already known. Now here is the formula, so you have to substitute the number and approximate to 151. Bifa kanaan kennama keenya erga sirriitti baafnee booda formula keessatti galchuudhaan population mean keenya argachuu ni dandeenya. Immoo hamma saamplii fudhannes akkatti beekuu ni dandeenya. Here also another example. There is a national travel and tour organization, TAO, would like to estimate the mean of amount of money spent by the tourist to be within 100. Look, within gaafa jedhu maaliin jedheereef margin of error ta'uu isaa beeka. With 95 confidence level, if the amount of the money spent on the tourist is considered to be normally distributed with standard deviation, now standard deviation is kennameera. What sample size should be necessary for TAO to meet their objective? Kanaaf in keenya nu kennameera. Standard deviation, confidence level. Now z value is already known. Now we have to substitute in the formula and get what? N. Kanaaf inni keenya estimariin kaa'uun qabnu approximate goonee fudhachuu danda'uu qabna jechuudha. But sometimes if the population standard is unknown, population standard deviation nu kennamuu baate, we have to make an educated guess or take a pilot sample and estimate it roughly using simply h minus l over 4 because 95.4 of the total population falls within twice of margin of error. So if alpha is 1 over 4 ranges. In the term sample size for sample proportion in Stockholm. Suma gubbaasaman wal fakkaata garuu asirratti proportionii akka ta'e kan kenname beekuudha. Kanumarra formula kanarraa maal gochuu danda'u qabna inni keenya determine gochuu danda'u qabna jechuudha. Inni keenya determine gochuu danda'u qabna innis bifa kanaan kennama jechuudha. Z alpha 1 over 2 E the whole square times PQ where P in the Q is already proportion. So karaa kanaanis sample size keenya determine gochuun akka danda'amu nutti himame example kana laallu. Suppose that the production facility purchase a particular component parts in larger lot from supplier. The production manager wants to estimate the proportion of the defective part received from the supplier. She believes that the proportion of defect is no more 0.2 and wanted to be within this one. Within indicates E margin of error reduction. The true proportion of the defect at 90 confidence level of the. So how much? N. So E is already given. Standard deviation is already also given. And this defective indicates 0.2 indicate P value. So cube is simply 1 minus 0.2 that is 0.8. So now shee kana beek shee kanas nu kennameera kunis nu kennameera shee kana immoo table irra ni barbaadna it is 1.64. So n of proportion barbaadnu kana gochuu ni dandeenya jechuudha. Here also another example kanaaf inni kunis what is the largest sample size that would be needed to estimate the population proportion to within jedha isheen kun E dha confidence level keenyas nu kennameera. amma sirratti proportion keenya nun hin kennamne p yookaan q hin kennamne waan ta'eef mee sammuu akkamitti barbaadna ree. So the largest sample size will be obtained when p is equal to 0.5. Maaliif asitti maal jedha? What is the largest sample size jedha. Kanaaf largest sample size kan argannu immoo gaafa p keenya 0.5 yookaan immoo p in the q gaafa wal qixa ta'e. P in the q wal qixa ta'e jechuun 0.5 gaafa ta'e. Kanaaf the largest sample size will be at this number. Bifa kanaan calculate gochuu dandeenya. Kanaaf ishee kana hinti kana beekuun baay'ee murteessaadha. What is the largest sample? Jedhee population proportion kan kenname ta'e taana largest sample argachuudhaaf p keenya duwwaatu qofaa ta'uu isaa beekuun baay'ee murteessaadha. So if p is unknown and there is no possibility to estimate, it use 0.5. Kanaaf 0.5 kana fudhachuun baay'ee bareedaadha. As the value of p because it is generate the greatest possible sample size as compared with the other value. Maybe the last, the next topic is determining sample size when we estimate two population can be given. Gaafa population meaning laman kenname immoo sample size bifa kamiin determine gochuu dandeenya kan jedhu laalla jechuudha. So when taking two random samples using difference in sample mean to estimate the difference in population mean, the researcher would have the idea of how large sample size need to be solved for n using the formula of this one. So here we does not look promising because of the equation has 9 variables including 2 different value of n. However, making some assumption can generate the workable sample size. Maalifi formula kana yoo ilaaltan variabiloota 9 qaba isaan keessaa inni 1 inni 2 kun lama jechuudha. Kanaaf some condition wayii kaa'uu qabna jechuudha inni keenya argachuudha. Conditionoonni yookaan immoo estimationoonni nuti assumption nuti fudhannu keessaa tokko the variance of the two population is equal. Again, the sample size of each sample is again what? The same. Jennee fudhachuu danda'u qabna jechuudha variable keenya xiqqeessuudhaaf. Yeroo sana formulaan keenya gara kanatti gadi bu'a. Gara kanatti gadi bu'a isa kanarraa inni solve gaafa gootan bifa kanarraa argatu. That is 2y of z alpha over 2 sigma over e whole square. So the above formula suggests that the necessary sample size for comparing two sample mean are each twice as large as the required sample size for estimating a single sample mean. Kanaaf gaafa sample tokkorraa inni barbaadnu fi gaafa sample mean lamarraa inni barbaadnu formulaan keenya garaagarummaan inni qabu simply 2 times ta'uu isaati. Kun maal nu agarsiisa? Sample size keenya as large as single sample mean akka ta'e qofa nutti hima jechuudha. Example kana laallu. College admission officers want to estimate the difference in the average GMAT score of men and women. She planned to take the random sample of the men and the women who have taken GMAT. At the same time, she wanted to be within 10 points. This was margin of error of the true difference in the mean scores of men and the women, and then 95 confidence of her result. Past GMAT test results indicate that standard deviation of GMAT test score is what? This was standard error in standard deviation in kennameera. So how large sample jedha. Kanaaf akkuma reefu dubbanne sample keenya waa'ee population mean lamarraa yeroo barbaadu formula kana akka fayyadamu beekna. Kanaaf in keenya kennameera, sigmaan nu kennameera, sin keenya ni kennameera. Kanaaf alpha value determine gochuudhaan bifa kanaan result keenya haa barbaadu ni dandeenya jechuudha. Maybe this one is the last illustration. A researcher wanted to estimate the difference between the average price of 21-inch TV and black TV and the white TV. She said that standard deviation of the price of 21-inch set is about 100. And he wants to 99 confident of his result within 20. Within indicate E, margin of error of true difference. How large sample? So E is given, standard deviation is given, C is known. So from this C you can determine alpha value. So from that alpha value you know that Z value. So at the end of the day you can substitute to that formula to calculate your n value. So thank you very much. Example kanneen irraa waa wayii akka qayyabattan abdiidha qabna. Kanaaf boqonnaan lammaffaa about estimation kana fakkaata. Next hypothesis testing yookaan boqonnaa sadaffaarra kan wal arginu ta'a jechuudha. Kanaaf sirriitti nu hordofu yoo PowerPoint yookaan PDF kana barbaadan immoo comment sectionidhaan nu gaafachuudhaan imeeliidhaan isin erguun ni danda'ama jechuudha. Gaafilee muraasa wayii bira utaallee jirra waan ta'eef. Garuu akkuma reefu isinitti hime gaafilee kanneen kan biree utaalleef almost waan wal fakkaataniif jechuudha. Nuti barattoota fardaawatti gaafa kenninu gaafilee kanneen baay'ifni wanni kenninuu fi deeply akka isaaniif galuu waan barbaanneef jechuudha. Kanaaf gaafa present gootu immoo hunda takka takkaan gochuun sa'a dheeraa fudhata waan ta'eef at least bifa kanaan gaafii muraasa irra utaaleedha. Sanaaf of golchaan jedha. Yoo barbaadan garuu isin erguu ni danda'a. Guddaa galatooma.